Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial. My name's ThaTimster, and today I'm going to be showing you how to get the FPS setup working for your games. So last tutorial in this sort of C4 series, I went about showing you guys how to make an explosion, so that was just spawning from an empty. But today I'm going to be showing you that sort of second part of it, where we have a hand rig and we animate it, and we also have a sort of C4 prop that becomes invisible at a certain frame, and in that 1 millisecond it spawns in the actual object. So that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. A little while back I went and made a grenade tutorial, so how to make a grenade, but again that was only spawning from an empty. There was nothing really showing you how to implement it into your own FPS games or any type of games at all. So yeah, this technique can be easily adapted for using, well, for a grenade. So maybe if you in this hand had a grenade just holding on, and then when you click you could have your other hand pulling the pin off, and then you throw it, and just when it's about to leave the hand you'd make it go invisible, and then you'd spawn in the actual object. So anyways, that's what we're going to be doing today, and yeah, so let's get started on it. So first thing we're going to do is go File, New, then we have a nice file here. We're going to change it to Blender Game, GLSL, frame rate to 60, and yeah, that should be fine. Now in the description will be a package of 3 different blend files. These are just sort of medium quality, not too great looking models that we'll be using. Will be called C4 assets. It will have a C4 and detonator, FPS template, and game hands. So they're pretty much like the rig that we'll be using. Main reason for this is I didn't want to put you guys through the the models don't look that great, and really isn't worth watching me make them. So you're going to download that package, then you're going to go back into Blender, press Shift F1, and once you've extracted out the files, because it'll probably be in a zip package, then first one we're going to select is FPS template. Then we're going to go to Object, select Body, hold down Shift, select Camera, Feet, and Head. We don't need Floor, though I guess we can put it in. That will do that for us. Then we're going to select Floor and just turn off the color, because I don't think we really need it. Then we're going to select this lamp here, select Hemi, and go to Texture View. Delete the cube, the original one, and now if we select our camera, press X, delete, and now press 0, numpad 0, then when we press P, you should be able to look around and move around as well. Also, a nice little feature I put into this sort of quick FPS template is if you hold down Shift and press W, you sprint, which is pretty cool, but hard to see because they're sort of white floor. So I'm going to press numpad 5 to go into orthographic view. Then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift F1 and just go back here, back into the original photo, and I'm going to select Game Hands, go to Object, and pretty much select everything here except for those two. We don't need those. Then I'm going to move them along this way, move them up here, and something like that, so just in front of the camera. Now that is a bit big, so we're going to press S and scale them down a bit, move them up, and something like that. I'm going to move them back a little bit, and down. You don't want them sort of too big or too close. And yeah, I think maybe move them this way a bit more, just a bit, so we sort of get the edge a bit like that. And yeah, I think that's probably good. Now we need the items for the rig to hold, so Shift F1 and back to our original folder, C4 and detonator, object, C4 prop, detonator and trigger. I'm not sure what white cube is there. Anyway, just those four should be fine. Now if you might be a little bit disappointed that it didn't really show how to model these, but yeah, they aren't really that good quality, and I guess you could easily replicate them if you wanted to. So for me, there's been something wrong with the textures, and I'm just going to have to reopen that. This shouldn't happen for your file. It should be fine. It'll be all packaged. So, I'll go back to downloads and reopen that file. Okay, there we go. Now we have, if you notice, we've got a object called C4 prop and an object called C4. C4 is the actual one we'll be spawning in, so one that can tumble along the floor, and the C4 prop is just what the hand will be holding, and what will also go invisible. So I'm just going to move this over here, then select our sort of live piece of C4, and then press M, and move it to layer 2. Then we're going to select our prop here, and maybe we can, just for now, press H for the floor. So we're going to select this, C4 prop, and press S, make it a bit smaller, then press 7, looks fine, press 3, or 1, then move it up here, so it's working with the hands. Then maybe RX90 and RZ90, there we go. And sort of just have it a good shape and size for the hand to be holding. So maybe we need the fingers to be able to grip around it. So maybe something like, I'm just going to quickly turn off the X-ray on the armature. So select the armature here, go into the person and turn X-ray off just so we can line it up, and that looks fine, so we can turn it back on. Now we're going to do the same, but we'll maybe make it a bit smaller, maybe, yeah, something like that. Then we're going to select our detonator down here, and that is way too wide, so S and SX, let's squish it down a bit, because the hand is going to have to be holding this. So we're going to move it on the Y-axis, X-axis, and then up like so. We can actually just press 7, and then R90, make it small, and then press 1 on the numpad, and then R-90. And just something like that, which the player can grip. Now if we press 0, we should have our object set up correctly. If we look in the 3D view, maybe move this back a bit, just so we can sort of, on the joints here, so they can wrap around the object. So that looks good so far. Just a bit more tweaking. We want to make sure the hand can wrap around it. So something like that. Then what we're going to do is let's move this a bit. Oh yes, also select before we save it, select the trigger here, press tab, press Z to go into wireframe, A to deselect, and then B, and drag over these top vertices, then Shift S, cursor to selected, and tab to go out of edit mode, and origin to 3D cursor. That basically just means so we can animate the rotation only, just so we can sort of get that, pressing motion. That is looking pretty good. We can go back into texture view and start doing some animating. So select the rig here, and go to, I guess, starts at frame 0, And down here, well, first of all, go into pose mode, then we're going to select this little record button, and we're going to select rotation. Oh, maybe rotation and location. So basically what this little button here does is every movement you make, it just records it instantly, so you don't have to keep on pressing I, which is, yeah, I guess sort of handy, but yeah, anyways, so we're going to select our top few bones here, then we're going to press RZ and rotate them along the Z axis, and maybe RY as well, seem to be positioned funny, just a bit. Then I'm actually going to go into object mode and turn record off and move this back into the palm a bit more. So now if we press 0, should be looking good. You can tweak it a bit more, something like that, and that should work fine. So now go select the armature again, go back into pose mode and click record again, and now we'll select the second lot and see if we can tweak these a bit. So we just need it a bit, not too much, otherwise it's sort of obvious it's going through. And then we'll select our last few on the front, and then press RZ, and we just want them wrapping around it like that. Now if you look at this top corner, it's a bit messy, so maybe lever that out a bit and tweak the bone, so something like that. Then yep, that should work fine. Just make sure these are pressing fairly firm against the trigger. Then we can press 0. Yep, just double check that that's sort of looking good. Then we're going to go back into object mode and select the other rig as well. So make sure you just select the rigs. Then we're going to parent them to the head. So Control P, parent, and then select the detonator, press Control A, apply scale, then hold down Shift and parent it. Oh, hold down Shift and parent it to the armature, so to the right hand. Control P, don't select this one, just object is fine. And so now if we press P, we have our sort of nice grip and yeah, clutching onto the detonator, which also moves. So one more thing, this thumb sort of looks out of place. I mean, I guess it'd be okay, but yeah, I'm going to give it a bit more, try to give it a bit more of a natural pose. So maybe RX and RX this way, rotate it this way a bit. Yeah, I don't know, up to you. I guess you could also do it this way a bit more, if it suits the sort of look you're going for. I'll go back to object mode, press 0 and press P. I think that looks good. So once you're happy, you can feel free to tweak those until you're happy with them. Then we're going to go down here to frame 20. We're going to animate the sort of pushing down of the button. So actually we might need to go to frame 3 because we want this to be a fairly short animation. So go to frame 3 and go back into pose mode, and actually leave that in object mode. We need to animate the trigger first, so leave that at 0, then just press I and it will automatically insert keyframes for you. Then select the armature again on frame 0 as well, go to pose mode, press A to deselect and then A to select everything, and then press I and it will insert keyframes for each bone. First thing we have to do though, move the trigger, so frame 3 and then press RX and just have it pushing down on that little grey thing. Maybe a bit like that. So, yep. Then back into the armature, pose mode, and select these two and have them sort of pushing down on the trigger. Oh, no, you don't want that. Make sure you're on frame 3 when you do that. Just have them pushing down like that. You might also want to sort of, as a reflex, make the pinky move as well. Yep, when you're done, you can just go back to frame 3 and then press A to deselect and then A to select everything and then press I and it will insert lots of keyframes for you. Looks like it's added them on frame 2, so if you have problems where it's just adding on the side, go to the graph editor, press A to deselect, Control K, and then press Shift D, GX1, and that should move them across. If we did that correctly. Oh, try that again. So A to deselect, and then Control K, and then GX1. Oh, right, no Shift D, just GX. Then go back into object mode, we can close that, and there we go, we sort of have a pushing down animation, which is cool. So next thing we're going to do is do this sort of harder part, so that is animating the left arm holding the C4. So we're going to have to give it a starting position, so into pose mode, then RX90, press A to deselect, A to select everything, then RX90, and it's going to be starting off sort of flat, maybe like that a bit, I think RY, and because we've got location as well enabled, we can tweak this a bit, and we can move it down, so it sort of starts at the bottom, and then comes up afterwards, so frame 0, just press I to double check that we've got all the keyframes in. Then next thing we're going to have to do, send that back to object mode and select the armature here. I'm going to have to press Control P, so parent the C4 to the armature. So if we move the armature, it moves with the C4. Then move that down a bit and press Y90 and then RX90, and we sort of want it in a nice position, so maybe if we move it down somewhere like this, then we can get this into pose mode and have it sort of grabbing around the C4. So I'm going to press RY with all those middle bones selected, and maybe that isn't too good, so I'm going to move those back a bit. Go back into pose mode and press RY again, then select the second row, RY, and third row, RY, and just sort of have it gripping around the C4 like that. Now that is a bit too much over the side, so I'm going to center it out a bit and also get the thumb. So right here, RX, and I'm just going to have it holding sort of loosely on the side. If you want to, I guess we can press RY and rotate it in a bit more, although I'm just going to leave that, otherwise it looks like it's going through. So after you're done with that, go back to object mode. Actually no, we can leave that. Now we want to, I think, in the other one I had it going up to frame 40, so I think frame 10, so go to frame 10, then press 1, and press A, select everything, and then press R, move that original bone back up, and then press I, just to double check. So now that should be moving closer. Maybe if we wanted to, we can move it up a bit more, just so it's now in the view. I'm going to press RX on here, just rotate it around the object a bit more, and then select everything, press I, and that should work fine. Then go to frame 20, and actually we can, I don't know, maybe frame 10, that's a bit too fast, so I'm going to press RY, move it down just a little bit so it's just peeking over the edge. Then I'm going to go to frame 20 and sort of press RY again. This time it's going to be sort of coming up to the, into the view. So I can press I with that, and then I'm going to go to frame 30, then press GZ and RY, move it up a bit, and this is sort of going to be like the final stance. So at frame 40 we're going to select all these and then press RY, and yep, pretty much just, oh, I've got 2 bones now. Anyway, RY again, and it's sort of letting go of it now. So press A to deselect, and then select the top ones, and RY again, maybe this one back a bit, just tweak it, and yeah, it's sort of let go, so we also want this one to be out. So sort of something like that. So once you're happy with that, press A to deselect, A to select everything, and then press I. It'll insert all your frames. Then if you look at this, it's a bit sudden. He just sort of, I guess, flicks his hand as if he's flicking away. Which I guess if you sort of wanted that style, you could have that, but yeah, in my opinion, it's a bit fast. So actually I had it going all the way to frame 40, didn't I? What we could do here is move it back a bit, and then have the fingertips still in just. So select all the fingertips and then have them still semi-wrapped around the object. And same with the thumb. So you sort of, yeah. I don't know, if you want the animation shorter, feel free to sort of skip to stuff like that. Yeah, frame 30. And yeah, maybe still a bit more, so RY. Press A to select everything. And yep, somehow that should be fine. Frame 40, so like the final one of the animation, this time I'm going to move it forward as if he's throwing it forward. And then I'm also going to start getting these, and so this is like now full release. So we'll select all these, RY, and now they should have fully let go. Select these ones as well, and yeah, so something like that looks fine. We do the same for the thumb, and press A to select everything, I to insert the keyframes, and then we're done. So now if we press P, sort of throws it out like that. If you maybe through to frame 10, we need to, at frame 0 maybe it's grabbing quite a bit more around it, so maybe like that. We can't see it, so I guess that's fine. So A to select everything, I to insert the things, and frame 10, and select the second row here, RY, insert keyframes for that. Oh, actually make sure you're on frame 10 when you're doing this. So yep, that should be fine, except we need to make sure it's the right one. So RY and something like that. And now we can go into object mode, press 0, and press P. And I'm happy with that animation of him just throwing it out like that. Now, second part is animating this parented C4. So I'm going to press 1 to go into side view, then press R and rotate it accordingly to the fingers. Then frame 10 and move it again accordingly. Hopefully this hasn't moved. So if you, look now, frame 5 it's starting to go right through, so you may need to readjust that, sort of something like that. And you just want to get it as similar to the motion as possible. So move it back a bit, and then up here, and make sure you're on frame 0, then move it up like that. So we just want them to get a really good grip on the piece itself. Then I guess we can move it forward a bit, and frame 5, and make sure he still has that good grip. Maybe across a bit, and yep, that looks fine. Frame 10, can check, and it looks like he's still got fairly solid grip on it. Maybe move it up just a little bit. You can also, I guess, move it across, and yep, now frame 20, press 1, and then press R, and rotate it, and move it around so it's in there. So he's holding onto it tightly again. So something like that. Maybe forward a bit and sideways a bit. And frame 30, go to frame 1 again. Oh, frame 30, and then go into press numpad 1 to go into the front view. And press G and move it sort of like that. Seems to work quite well. So he's holding onto it still, but fairly loosely, so maybe down a bit. And then frame 40, the final frame, is we want it like this, and sort of falling out. So I guess like that. So now if we press P, and go into front view, there we go. We have them picking up a piece of C4 and pushing it outwards, which is cool. But we haven't finished the animation yet. We still need him to sort of put the arm back down. So maybe if it takes him 40 frames, probably 20 to get it from there to there, it'll probably take him maybe another 30 before he can get his arm all the way down again. So we're going to go to the final frame, frame 70, go into pose mode, and press RX, and, oh no, RY, and move it down. So this is going to be like final pose, so we want to get this as close to the starting one as we can. So that looks fairly good. Now we just need to select all these, and just these one for a start, RY, and sort of give it a bit more of a natural feel, because this is sort of what the player's going to be seeing as you go down to grab another piece of C4. So we want that hand starting to close in to grab another piece. So maybe something like that. His thumb looks a bit unnatural, so I'm going to smooth that out a bit. Select everything, press I, and then RY. Select everything, press I again. In my opinion, I mean, it's still a bit, I'd like him to have his hands normal again, maybe around 55, so I'm going to go to that frame, then I'm going to select all these and then press R, Y, and we're going to give it a bit more of a natural feel. That seems out of place. So select all these, then RY and RZ, RY as well. So then, yep, that can work well. We'll just hide that for a second and press P. Yep, I reckon that can work well. I know maybe you don't want him looking like he's sort of wiping a piece of glass. I don't know. I'm happy with that animation though. So I'm going to press Alt H to unhide the stuff we'd hidden. So that's the floor and stuff as well. So now we have a piece of C4. So that's, I think, most of the animating done, which is a relief. Yep, which is cool. So now we can turn off the recording and just quit that, because we don't need to do, I don't think we need to do any more actually. But now press Shift A, add a cube, GX, now there's going to be the spawner. So we can call this C4 spawner. If you're doing a grenade, then you'd obviously, or you'd have a completely different animation, but you'd also need a grenade spawner, and that would be parented to the head. Can make that smaller. Press S and sort of get it in a good position. Now we're going to go to the throwing frame, so frame 40, and we want to move this sort of just over where the C4 is, so the transition can sort of be almost seamless, which would be sort of handy. We're going to press Ctrl S and save it, so I'm going to save it as maybe FPS C4 set up. Yeah, you just save it, whatever. Then we're going to, under the physics for the spawner, we're going to select no collision and invisible. Then we're going to go to our game logic, and we're going to add an edit object, and we're going to spawn C4 prop. Actually, no, just C4. So quickly test that out. Add a keyboard sensor, join them up, random key. If we go to texture view, and press P, and then press that random key, there we go. We have some spawning C4, but it's spawning sideways, so RZ90. Try that again, still spawning sideways. There we go, now it's spawning. It seems to be getting pushed out. But yeah, it's too big either way, so we're going to select it and press S, make it nice and small. And we're also going to give it a sort of movement. So in the, go to local quickly, in the negative X direction. So linear velocity, click local, and maybe something around -10. So now if we press our random key, I'm not sure why it's shooting out sideways. Ah, right, yes. Don't choose A, because that's also a moving key. There we go. So that's working well. I know it might still be a bit small, so we're going to press S, make it a bit bigger, until it sort of has a good size. So I think that could work well, but it's still not matching the C4, so the position of it. So I'm going to press RX90, try that again. See, we have them spawning in the right place, right rotation, just the wrong velocity. So change that to global, turn that off, and oh, we just need a positive value in here, so maybe 7. And try that one more time, and there we go. We have spawning C4, but they look funny. So I'm going to quickly add a hemi in this layer, so we can see the problem. And I'll press RY, there we go. And it looks like the tape's sort of mucked up with it. What we can actually do is press Tab, press A to deselect, and then A to select everything, and then press RY 180, so it flips around the entire piece. So now if we press 0 and press P, and we have it spawning it in, which is pretty cool, but the back of it still looks funny. I guess we won't have to worry about that too much, hopefully. Press Ctrl L, there we go. Select a line. Hopefully these should be all fixed in your file. I'll definitely go over them, so you won't have to do this. So, yeah, but spawning in is still sideways though, which seems strange, so I'm going to press RX90. There we go. Now it seems scaled funny, so I'm going to go to layer 2 and just tweak this a bit. And go back to layer 1. Try it again. And it's still a little bit big, so the annoying thing with this is you have to sort of constantly like trial and error. You have to keep mucking around with it till it works. Now that's very close, still a bit too big for my liking though. Maybe that will work. There we go. I'm happy with that. That should be working fine. So, now we've got that part out of the way. It was very annoying. We want a time of... Oh, it shouldn't matter, because if you have a grenade or a piece of C4, the object should end once you pull the trigger. We're going to go change that to object mode, and I can't remember, I think we'll go to the, oh, how much left? Looks like it's already, oh, we'll just get rid of all of those. And we'll add an action for this hand, and it's to play the action right armature, and it's going to be from, I'll go change this to timeline. It's going to be from frame 0 to frame 3, and then actually what we need to do is go back to frame 0, change this to graph editor, and you copy this keyframe and put it on frame 5. So A to deselect, Control K, and then Shift D, GX 5. So now we have a sort of, if you look closely, we have him pushing down and letting go. So we want to have that animation, so from frame 0 to frame 5, and that is played when we'll add a mouse sensor on this side, and it's just left button, so tap, and don't need that, and yep, if we click, you should push down. I know this might need animating as well, so we'll go to frame 0 for the trigger, and then press A to deselect, Control K, and then Shift D, GX5 as well, and add an action here, select trigger action in frame 5, then hold down Shift, select the armature, so select the trigger, hold down Shift and select the armature, then join that up to the same and controller, just to sort of stop everything becoming a big mess. So now when we push down it, pull the trigger. I guess it's not very big movement, but I guess you can still play around with the animation if you want to. Maybe we will quickly. I'll go to frame 0, and I'm just going to move these back a bit just to make the animation a lot more obvious. And press I and insert rotation. Then we'll go back out of pose mode and now press P. Oh, there we go. We also need to copy from frame 0 to frame 5 again, so A to deselect, Control K, Shift D, GX5. So there we go, the motion's quite a bit more noticeable, I reckon, which is good. So Control S, save that. Then what we're going to do now is we're going to have to start adding a whole bunch of timers. So first thing we're going to do is, I think, yeah, we add them all to the armature here. Oh, so add an action. This one's going to be arm left armature action, and it's going to start at frame 0 and end at frame 70. And we need to add a timer, so I don't know, timer, maybe timer number 1, maybe, and just timer. And it's going to be an integer, and it's going to be up to the throwing frame, so frame 40, actually no, we need it to be the whole length of the animation, so frame 7, it needs to be 70, and we're going to add another property. It's going to be called start, it's going to be boolean, and now if we select mouse, change that to a right button, click tap, then it's going to play the action. At the same time, it's going to assign start to true. Then it's when start is equal to true, then, well, on a true pulse, it's going to minus away from the timer, so add timer -1, and minimize all those. So, yep, it's going to take time away from that. Then when the timer is equal to 40, so the throwing frame, when the timer is equal to 40, then we're going to add an AND controller, and then we'll hold down Shift, select the spawner. It's going to spawn in the C4. So we'll try that now. Press P. There we go. Throws in the C4. But only does it once because we didn't reassign the timer at all. So now when that's equal to 40, that should work well. We need to also select the C4 though, little object here, a prop, and give that an action as well. In frame 40, select the armature and hold down Shift, select the C4. Then when the user right clicks, it's going to play the action of it sort of getting pulled up. Then we're going to add 2 visibility sensors. First one invisible, second one visible, and it's going to be when it edits in the C4, it's going to be invisible, and then we're going to add another property. So this property is, oh no, not on this one, on the armature, and this is going to be when timer is equal to, when it's equal to the full amount. So when it's equal to 70, then it's going to be visible, and when it's equal to 40, it's going to be invisible. So now if we press 0 and press P, right click, it sort of spawns in a piece of C4, which is cool. I just noticed here though, if you, oh no, there we go. So the spawning in does work, but yeah, before we continue, we need to add 2 properties here, and that's basically just assigning timer to 70 again, and assigning start to false. And those two both happen when the time is equal to 0. If that's what we have. Nope, not 20. So add another property on this side, and when timer, make this window bigger, then when timer is equal to 0, then it's going to reassign, I'm going to have to add controller, it's going to reassign it with 70 and assign start to false. Minimize all those. And when we press P, right click, oh, there we go. That was a bit strange. And we want that to stay constantly invisible. So, looks like we have a problem with the C4. And that is, when we go up, it doesn't, well, it stays visible once we've finished the action. So maybe if we have, so for it to be visible, we need maybe mouse right click with the property being equal to 70. So we need both of those to happen. And if we click constantly, then the C4 is sort of coming out of time with the whole armature. Basically, I think I've noticed a small problem that we have is, if we go here, so the C4 is actually spawning early, and it's spawning at frame 30 instead of frame 40. So we actually need to, when the timer isn't equal to 40, when it's equal to 30, so 40 frames of animation have played, then that will happen. So I'll press 0 and press P. However, if we click really fast, then it doesn't seem to be able to keep up with the animation rate. So we actually add one more property, and when start is equal to false, so it has to be equal to false for the player to do anything. So we'll go to frame, join that up to the top one, and I'm guessing this one as well. Then we'll press 0 and press P, and it's still having that problem. Oh no, there we go, seems to be solved. So now you can click as furiously as you like, and still is fine. So maybe like that, not true. There we go. Also in the C4 explosion, I said I'd sort of be showing you how to make the C4 stick to objects. So I'm going to quickly cover that. So we'll go Shift S, go to the center, then press Shift A at a cube, press S, Shift X. So we just want a big brick wall here. Well, it doesn't even have to be brick, just a wall. And we're going to give it the property, maybe just wall or object, something that the C4 can stick to. Then what we need to do is go on layer 2, press Shift A, and press Shift S with the C4 selected, then selection to cursor, so it's in the middle, then Shift A at a cube, and this is going to be called C4 sensor. I'm going to press S, make that a lot smaller, then S Shift Z, and we want it basically on the underside of the C4. So I'm guessing that's this side actually. So if we quickly go back to layer 1, see what side this is spawning on. So it's spawning on the side with the wires, which is good. One problem I just noticed though is if you turn, it just flies in in the global direction, not in the direction you want it to. So we're going to quickly change this to local and change the linear thing to maybe 7.79, but on the Z axis with local selected, so if you turn it will throw the C4 in that one direction. So there we go, throw it in any direction you face. So now we have our wall here back onto layer 2. I'm just going to get rid of that and this. Then with our C4 sensor here, we're going to go into the physics tab, select sensor, detect actors, and it's going to be invisible with collision bounds. Then this is we're going to have to give the wall an actor and collision bounds as well. Then I guess we can move it down just a little bit. And so basically, when C4 sensor is going to be parented to the piece of C4. When the C4 sensor collides with the property object, then we'll hold down shift, select the C4, and it's going to add an edit object on the C4 and controller, join them up. And what it's going to do is, instead of edit object, we're going to select dynamics, and it's going to suspend dynamics. So we'll try that out now, see if that's working. Alt Z to go into texture view, and if we throw a piece of C4, oh, maybe a bit closer. There we go, look, I got a sticky piece. So now we can throw C4 at this wall and it will stick in place, but some of it's sort of going through, which isn't a good look. So to solve that, we're going to go back onto this layer, press S Shift Z, and we're going to move it up a bit, like so, and try that one more time. And some of them are still going, but some of them are going through. And these ones seem to be working, but I don't know, maybe at an angle. Nope, that's working fine now. So yeah, that's how to make them stick to walls and stuff. If you like are looking at it though, you're like, that piece of C4 really is quite small. So maybe if you want them to be a bit bigger, you can move that closer to the player, and then go into here, press S to make it bigger, and then press 0, and try that again. And that might be a bit big for you, so we're going to actually GX and move it away. And there we go. So that's working a bit smoother now. If you are spawning in bigger objects, make sure the spawner is further away from the plane. Yeah, so it sort of fits the same shape, but I don't know, that C4's looking a bit more realistic shape-wise. That's pretty much it, guys. That's how you can get your own sort of C4 setup. And yeah, if you're following this for the sort of grenade setup, hopefully that's working for you as well. I guess this tutorial was sort of long, but probably worth it for you guys if you have working results. Yep, download link in the description again. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you have any problems, leave a comment. That's the end of the tutorial, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.